in order to pass a very important great filter, I think we need to be a multi-planet species. This may sound somewhat esoteric to a lot of people, but eventually, given enough time, the Earth is likely to experience some calamity. That could be something that humans do to themselves, or an external event like happened to the dinosaurs. Eventually, and if none of that happens, and somehow magically we keep going, then the sun is gradually expanding, and will engulf the Earth, and probably Earth gets too hot for life in about 500 million years. It's a long time, but that's only 10% longer than Earth has been around. And so if you think about like the current situation, it's really remarkable, and kind of hard to believe, but Earth's been around 4.5 billion years, and this is the first time in 4.5 billion years that it's been possible to extend life beyond Earth. And that window of opportunity may be open for a long time, and I hope it is, but it also may be open for a short time. And we should, I think it was wise for us to act quickly while the window is open, just in case it closes. I mean, it's important to think of these things and just, think of things as like probabilities, not certainties. There's a certain probability that something bad will happen on Earth. I think most likely the future will be good. But there's like, let's say for argument's sake, a 1% chance per century of a civilization ending event. Like that was Stephen Hawking's estimate. I think he might be right about that. So then, we should basically think of this like being a multi-planet species is like taking out insurance for life itself, like life insurance for life. We can bring the creatures from plants and animals from Earth to Mars and breathe life into the planet, and have a second planet with life. That would be great. They can't bring themselves there, so if we don't bring them to Mars, then they will just for sure all die when the sun expands anyway, and then that'll be it. The key threshold, the great filter will have been passed when the city on Mars can survive even if the spaceships from Earth stop coming for any reason. Doesn't matter what the reason is, but if they stop coming for any reason, will it die out or will it not? So we're going to get a Mars city to the point where it's self-sustaining. I'm not sure this will really happen in my lifetime, but I hope to see it at least have a lot of momentum. And then you could say, okay, what is the minimum tonnage necessary to have a self-sustaining city? And there's a lot of uncertainty about this. So you could say, like, I don't know, it's probably at least 1 million tons, because you have to set up a lot of infrastructure on Mars. Like I said, you can't be missing anything that, in order to be self-sustaining, you can't be missing. Like you need, semiconductor fabs, you need iron ore refineries, you need lots of things, and Mars is not super hospitable. It's the least inhospitable planet, but it's definitely a fixer-upper of a planet. You can only move at the speed of light through space, but if you can make space itself move, that's warping space. Space is capable of moving faster than the speed of light. Like the universe in the Big Bang, the universe expanded at much more than the speed of light, by a lot. If this is possible, the amount of energy required to warp space is so gigantic, it boggles the mind. Right now, the Falcon 9 is the only reusable rocket out there, but the booster comes back and lands. You've seen the videos, and we get the nose cone or fairing back, but we do not get the upper stage back. So that means that we have a minimum cost of building an upper stage. You can think of like a two-stage rocket of sort of like two airplanes, like a big airplane and a smaller airplane, and we get the big airplane back, but not the smaller airplane. And so it still costs a lot, so that upper stage is, at least $10 million. And then degree of the booster is not as rapidly and completely reusable as we'd like, nor are the fairings. So, our kind of minimum marginal cost, not counting overhead per flight, is on the order of $15 to $20 million, maybe. That's extremely good it's by far better than any rocket ever in history. But with full and rapid reusability, we can reduce the cost per ton to orbit by a factor of 100. Just think of it like imagine if you had an aircraft or something, or a car, and if you had to buy a new car every time you went for a drive, it would be very expensive. It'd be silly, frankly. Mm-hmm. But you just refuel the car or recharge the car, and that's makes your trip like 1,000 times cheaper. So it's the same for rockets. It's very difficult to make this complex machine that can go to orbit, and so if you cannot reuse it and have to throw even any significant part of it away, that massively increases the cost. So, Starship in theory could do a cost per launch of like $1 million, maybe $2 million or something like that, and put over 100 tons in orbit, which is crazy.
ご覧いただいたように、私たち人類は近い将来、2つの選択肢を取らなければなりません。一つは地球で生活し続けるという選択です。この選択肢が最も現実的に見えるかもしれませんが、その場合の人類の運命は、イーロン・マスクが言った通り、拡大し続ける太陽に飲み込まれるか、人類自らが地球環境を破壊して居場所をなくしてしまうかのどちらかになります。これが地球上に存在する50億人の全人類と、その子孫が皆等しく辿っている残酷な運命なのです。たった一人の起業家を除いてですが、そしてその起業家が取ろうとしているもう一つの選択肢は、私たち人類が移住できる別の惑星、つまり地球以外にも住める場所を探すということです。その勇敢な起業家は、権力にまみれた政治家とその支持基盤からの度重なる抵抗やメディアからの批判にも耐え、人類が核武装や疫病を流行らせて、自ら破滅の道に進んでいる間に、彼は少年時代に見た人類の進化に貢献するという夢の実現に向けて確実に一歩一歩を歩んでいるのです。
If I can do some of those things, basically if I can advance technology, then that's like magic, and that would be really cool. And I always had sort of a slight existential crisis because I was trying to figure out what does it all mean? Like, what's the purpose of things? And I came to the conclusion that if we can advance the knowledge of the world, if we can do things that expand the scope and scale of consciousness, then we're better able to ask the right questions and become more enlightened. And that's really the only way forward.
The prospect of nuclear conflict, once unthinkable, is now back within the realm of possibility.
A single modern nuclear weapon hitting in a major American city would be many times worse than the Hiroshima or Nagasaki. It would be a historic destruction of unbelievable proportions.
We are assessing President Putin's directive, and at this time we see no reason to change our own alert level.
It's a weapon that's not designed to kill soldiers. It's designed to destroy cities or take out critical infrastructure.
You should care about nuclear weapons.
Закончится совсем плохо для всего человечества, или мы победим. Третьего здесь не дано.
An epidemic, either naturally caused or intentionally caused, is the most likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths. So the paradigmatic examples are smallpox for an intentionally caused thing, that there was a simulation called Dark Winter that didn't come out very well.
The White House is now debating whether to declare a public health emergency for monkeypox.
Fight against monkeypox. New York City officially declared it a public health emergency.
With the number of cases in the U.S. now over 5,100 and more than 1,300 of those right here in New York State.
Within the hour, Governor Hochul declared a state disaster emergency as monkeypox cases continue to soar. The governor says more than a quarter of the country's cases are right here in New York.
Elon, let me say thank you for giving the world hope and reason to be excited about the future.
Oh, it's kind of you to say. I do want to do that. Humanity has obviously a lot of issues, and you know, people at times do bad things, but you know, despite all that, you know, I love humanity, and I think we should make sure we do everything we can to have a good future and an exciting future, and one where that maximizes the happiness of the people.